Hello! My name is Kallista, and welcome back to Mass Effect Legendary Edition. In the last episode, we were speaking with Rex and Ashley, and it kind of seems like they both have daddy issues in their own ways. Ashley's dad was never at home because he was obsessing over space, and Rex's dad betrayed him on the bones of their ancestors and caused him to or essentially feel like he was being booted off world. You know, daddy issues. Your bog standard daddy issues. Now then, I'm thinking Garrus and Tali, because, you know, we are in the area. They should be the ones I'm speaking to next. Let's start with Tali. Open up. Hello, my dear.
Shepard, I'm glad you're here.
Hey! Yeah, you're sounding a lot perkier.
Good to see you smiling again, so to speak.
I'm sleeping much better now. I guess I'm getting used to how quiet your ship is. I still think a lot about my pilgrimage, though. I know Saren's our top priority, but with all the worlds we go to, I was hoping to find something to bring back to the flotilla.
We've still got a long way to go. You'll find something to take back.
Yes, but it cannot just be some derelict ship my people can use for salvage. It has to be more than that. There's a lot expected of me.
Oh God, you're not some kind of Quarian princess, are you?
What's so special about you?
It's my father. He's the senior member of the Admiralty Board. He's one of only 5 people who can overrule the decisions of the Conclave for the good of the Migrant Fleet. My father is responsible for the lives of 17 million people. Our entire race is in his hands, and I'm his only child.
I was joking! She is a Quarian princess!
So are you some kind of heir to the Quarian throne or something?
No, it doesn't work that way. My father's position isn't hereditary. I'll probably never serve on the Admiralty Board myself. Officially, I'm just the same as any other citizen. But it doesn't work that way in practice. People have always treated me differently because of who my father is.
You must get all kinds of special privileges.
I probably had it easier than most growing up, but it's not all good. People like my father have enemies, and they're not above using me to get to him.
Ooh, yeah, that does sound like a lot of pressure.
That must be tough on you.
My people place a high value on family and ancestry. There's an unspoken expectation that I'll live up to my father's example. Everyone's waiting for me to do something great on my pilgrimage, something that will forever change our lives for the better. If I don't, it's like I failed, and that reflects badly on both me and my father.
I mean, if we save the galaxy here, then, I mean, surely that'll do something.
The work you're doing here is more important than anything any Quarian's ever done before.
Yes, I know. But you have to understand Quarian culture. We're a very insular society. The events beyond the flotilla don't much matter to the average citizen. Our greatest dream is that one day we'll return to our homeworld and drive out the Geth. But even if we stop Saren, that's not going to happen. There's still millions of Geth behind the veil. Until they're gone, our exile will continue.
Madam, I get that your society is insular, but do the flotilla not live in the galaxy? If the galaxy is gone, they are gone. Do they live elsewhere? Do they just occasionally pop in to visit? I'm being very snide, my apologies. Yeah, so what's the answer to this problem, Tali?
What would you need to bring back to make everyone happy?
Something that would help us better understand the Geth. They've changed significantly since the exile. They've continued to evolve. We've done our best to study them, but it's not easy. They're very reclusive. Until recently, they never went beyond the borders of the Veil. And all the Geth we run into now are under Saren's control. We'd need to find Geth operating on their own, independently. But I don't want this to get in the way of our mission, Shepard. First, we stop Saren. Then I'll worry about my own problems.
Look, this is sounding like another companion quest. Yeah, tell me about your dad.
What was your father like?
It wasn't easy growing up as the daughter of one of the Admiralty. Even before he joined the board, he was a prominent figure. People looked to him for leadership. He had to set an example, and he expected the same of his daughter. Plus, he was pretty strict, a military man through and through. He never allowed me to settle for anything less than excellence. As a kid, I sometimes felt like he was pushing me too hard. But now I'm old enough to appreciate what he taught me. The world doesn't owe us anything. If we want something in life, we have to earn it.
What about your mom?
Where was your mother in all this?
Mother was around, but she always seemed to kind of blend into the background. Almost like she was overshadowed by my father. He tends to do that to people. She passed on about 5 years ago. Some airborne virus that swept through the fleet. Happens sometimes when the filters start to break down. I think my father took it pretty hard. After she was gone, he became even more focused on his work. I think that was his way of dealing with the grief.
Sounds like a tough upbringing. You don't resent your father at all?
Like I said, it wasn't easy. My father's not the kind of person you bond with. And he wasn't around all that much. Too busy. People counted on him, and he took his duties seriously. Even when he was around, he always seemed a bit distant. Like his mind was always somewhere else. Come to think of it, I can't ever remember seeing him smile. Not once. It's like he was always weighed down by all that responsibility. I mean, I know he cares about me, but he never really showed it, not in the usual way. I guess the best thing I can say about my father is that I respect him.
I think that's fair. I think that... Here's the thing, there are a lot of people that would be quite resentful of that. Oh, you made me strive for excellence as a kid. You never gave me one word of like, oh, congratulations, I'm proud of you. You were just strict and emotionless and you focused on your work, and I've been in your shadow, and people think I'm gonna follow in your footsteps. So, you continue to overshadow me. A lot of people would be very resentful of that. I think that in a way there is a similarity there between how Tali views her father and how Naomi views her mother. Because again, I think most people would assume, oh, Naomi must hate her mother. She must think her mother's a bitch. She must want to fight her mum. This, that, and the other. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you went up to Naomi and said, hey, listen, I found out how you became an orphan. I found out that it wasn't that you were abandoned at birth, but you were abandoned as a tween. And I just want to say, I think your mother's a colossal bitch. I'm so sorry she did that to you. Naomi would absolutely beat the shit out of you. She would absolutely punch you straight in the face and say, what the fuck did you just say about my mum? How dare you talk about her like that? Show a bit of respect. How fucking dare you? Because ultimately, Naomi's mum doing what she did, it made Naomi into the woman she is today. But for her being abandoned, she would never have gotten super involved with the gang, and therefore she never would have had this realization of, oh, I need to leave, I need to go for my own safety, so that I don't end up ODing at a terribly young age. I need to save myself, so I'll join the military. And all of these experiences ultimately stem from her being ditched by her mum. It all stems from that abandonment. And here's the thing, Naomi likes who she is. Naomi absolutely loves who she is. She would not change anything about her personality. And so in a way she does have her mum to thank for that. Not everyone is going to understand that, but Naomi has no ill will centered on her mum. She's not grateful for being abandoned. She doesn't think that her mum was an amazing maternal figure. It's more so the fact of, but for you, I would not be the woman I am today. And for that, I am grateful. I'm not grateful you abandoned me, but you did mold me into the person I am. And that is what I am grateful for. So don't anyone be slagging her off like I said, it's all a matter of perspective. I have a character very similar to Naomi. She's called Ziva. She will be making an appearance on the channel at some point, so I won't get too far into it, but Ziva's mum abandoned her. And Ziva grew up in an extremely awful environment where she was forced to kill to survive, and as an adult, she does not like who she is. And as such, if she saw her mum again, she would beat her face in until she was... Like, she would knock her mum down to the floor, beat her face in until her fist was hitting sand. She would absolutely take her own mother's life because... You abandoned me and I have become someone I despise. Fuck you. If Naomi met her mum, she'd probably be like, oh, hey, it's you. What have you been up to? Oh, me? I just saw my entire unit on Aku's die and you didn't even bother giving me a fucking phone call. Like, there'd be hostility, but she wouldn't, like, physically assault her or anything. It all depends on your perspective. And so I think, you know, Tali not having any hard feelings towards her father, I think Naomi's like, I get you there. I get you.
I want to talk about something else.
Like what?
No, we've spoken about all of that before.
I should go.
See you later.
Ta-ra! And Garrus. Garrus with your dulcet tones. How you doing?
Commander, good to see you.
Anything? Anything at all?
You've been with C-Sec a while. Have you seen much action?
Well, not as much as you, but yeah, I've seen some interesting things.
Go on.
I bet you have. Anything in particular that stands out?
I remember this Solarian geneticist I was sent to investigate. That case was a bit disturbing.
Oh, sir, I am a true crime fanatic. You have piqued my interest. How so? Disturbing in what way?
What happened? Why were you investigating him?
I was tasked with tracking black market trade on the Citadel. Most of it harmless, nothing I needed to pursue. But during the course of my investigation, I noticed an increase in the trade of body parts, organs mostly. We usually get a few of those, but not the numbers I was seeing. We weren't sure if there was a new black market lab or if some freak was harvesting organs from citizens.
Oh! Does that happen a lot?
You've seen this before on the Citadel?
Every so often, some lab sells unwanted parts through the black market, but they're not as bad as the cycles. I remember this one L-Corps diplomat we caught in my first year on the job. He was hacking people up and selling their organs, had the station in a bit of a panic. But this case wasn't that clear-cut. Turns out there was more going on than we first realized.
Okay, what? An L-Corps diplomat was doing what? My first thought, if they release DLC where you could play as Garrus investigating this diplomat and it was really dark and gritty, I would buy all of the DLC. I'd be like, this is all mine. Even the digital copies, all of them are coming home with me. I want that so badly. Secondly, can you imagine how terrifying it would be? Being kidnapped by an L-Corps. I'm imagining the Presidium. Like, it's late at night. There's no one around. All of the lights have been dimmed. And then you just hear that do, do, do. Do you turn? There is the L-Corps coming towards you. And he'd probably say something creepy like, I don't know, genuine inquiry. What do your insides look like? And then you'd run as fast as your legs can carry you. But here's the thing, given that the L-Corps are on all fours, I imagine they can run like hell. I imagine they are really fast, so you're just running through the Presidium. You look back and it's just gaining on you. It's breaking into a sprint. It's Shia LaBeouf. It's Shia LaBeouf, the L-Corps. And oh my, that would be terrifying. That's a horror game in the making there. You are a victim. of the Elcor diplomat, can you get off the Presidium in time? Like, I'd play that. I don't like horror games, but I'd play that. I'm sorry, Garrus, do go on.
So how did you figure out what was happening?
First, we got a hold of a sample and ran DNA tests. The weird thing was, the match led us to a Turian who was still alive and was very convinced he'd never lost his liver. After a bit of digging, I discovered this Turian worked briefly for Dr. Salion, the geneticist. So I went to his lab hoping to find evidence of cloned organ development, but there was nothing. No Salarian hearts, no Turian livers, not one Krogan testicle.
Pardon? They're just selling those?
You're kidding, right? Why would anyone want Krogan testicles?
Some Krogan believe that testicle transplants can increase their virility, counteract the effects of the genophage. It doesn't work, but that doesn't stop them from buying. They'll pay up to 10,000 credits each. That's 40,000 for a full set. Somebody's making a killing out there.
They have 4? Also, somebody's making a killing out there. Do I detect a bit of envy, Garrus? I mean, I'm just saying, cloning Krogan bollocks to make 40 grand, like that, I'd be tempted. I'd be quite tempted by that.
What'd you do about the geneticist?
I brought in some of his employees for interrogation to see if I could get them to talk. While I was interviewing one of them, I came across something suspicious.
Ooh, I mean, from the way he said that, it's very clear that he meant I was beating them up. Here's the thing, there is always the possibility that this, that the assistants maybe didn't know what was happening. The doctor was the one, you know, making these organs, and that the assistants were just kind of there. Maybe they were his cover, like, oh yeah, I'm running a legitimate lab. See, I have assistants, and they're doing their own thing. Like, you could make that argument, in which case, you know, interviewing them would be wrong, but if they did know what was going on, then, oh, I would assume that Garrus had proof that they were involved. Then again, this is Garrus we're talking about. He seems rather gung-ho. We don't really have much information. I'm tempted to go down the middle, because here's the thing. Naomi knows there are times when you do have to get a bit violent. There are situations that kind of cause for, you know, interviewing people. I don't think she'd be overly offended by that, but I don't think she'd also be like, yeah, beat the shit out of everyone. Like, no, so just down the middle.
Yeah? Go on.
One of my detainees started bleeding profusely during the interview. We offered to patch him up, and he got frantic, freaked out. I ordered a full exam to find out what was going on. Our medics found incisions all over his body, some of them fresh. That was our big break. These people weren't just Dr. Salion's employees. They were test tubes. Walking, living test tubes.
Oh, absolutely not.
He was growing parts inside these people?
Exactly. He cloned their organs right inside their own bodies. Then he harvested them and sold them off. Most of the victims were poor. He'd pay them each a small percentage of the sales, but only if the organs were good. Sometimes an organ wouldn't grow properly, so he'd just leave it in them. Most of them were a mess, but only on the inside, hidden so nobody could see it.
Can you imagine the poor sods that were growing the Krogan testicles? Hot damn.
I hope he got what he deserved.
That's the worst part. We never caught him.
Why not? What the hell happened?
He ran, blew his lab, grabbed some of his employees, and headed for the nearest space dock. By the time I found out, his ship was already leaving. He threatened to kill his hostages if we tried to stop him.
Ooh. I mean, of course they did. Of course they did. He had hostages. I wish I could see what these were, because this just sounds gormless. And this one, they just let him go? Why? He only had hostages. I don't see what the problem is. Like, this one sounds gormless. This one sounds like it could come out as psychopathic. I could see this maybe being like, what? He had hostages? Like I said, yeah, of course they did. Of course they just let him go if he had hostages. This one seems a little... It seems a little obvious. I'm gonna take a risk.
But you went after him anyway, right?
I ordered Citadel Defense to shoot him down, but CSEC headquarters countermanded my order. They were worried about the hostages, worried about civilian casualties if the ship was destroyed so close to the Citadel. I told them those hostages were dead anyway. He just used them to make more organs, but they wouldn't listen.
Oh. Sir, those are people. Those are people. One second. I just need to make sure I'm reading this right. So this is, you know, I agree with CSEC. That was too risky. The idiots, why didn't they just kill the hostages? And then a neutral approach. Okay, yeah. Here's the thing, Garrus does have a point. He was never gonna release the hostages, or probably never. Like, the likelihood of that was extremely slim. But you can't... You have a duty of care to those people. If you're trying to save them, like... I can't see Naomi going with either of these. Yeah, I think she would agree with them that, like, you had a duty of care to those hostages. Yes, they probably were dead men and women walking, but you still have a duty of care towards them.
It's not worth the risk. You pursue the vessel and disable it. That's the best choice.
They sent the military after him, but he got away just the same. Yes, they did. I went to Patton and told him what I thought of him and his policies. He said if I didn't like it, I could quit. Well, I almost did. All they had to do was disable that ship, stop him from running. Maybe the hostages die, maybe they don't, but at least we stopped the bastard responsible for it all.
Sir, those are people. Those are people with families and loved ones. I get that you want to stop the bad guy, but you can't use innocent people as a stepping stone for that.
If you don't care about the fate of those hostages, then you're no better than he is. You're just a terrorist with a badge.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It doesn't make it any easier, but I see your point. Just wish I could have stopped him. That's all.
Do you have any idea what happened to Dr. Salian?
I sent out feelers from time to time, hoping to find something. I thought I'd found him a while back. He changed ships and changed his name to Dr. Hart, his idea of a joke, I guess. I told the military, but they weren't convinced it was him. I got the transponder frequency for his new ship, but I just can't get anyone to check it out.
Hey, we'll do it. We will happily do it.
I'll check out the coordinates when I get a chance.
I was hoping you'd say that. But Commander, take me with you when you go. If it's Salion, I want to be there when you find him.
Way, lovely jubbly, even more companion quests. I love it. Again, I've only got about 5 minutes left on my timer, so... Again, anything new? No. Quarians. Biology. The Quarian homeworld, Palaven, has a metal-poor core, generating a weak magnetic field and allowing more solar Let's try that again. And allowing more solar radiation into the atmosphere. To deal with this, most forms of life on Palaven evolved some form of metallic exoskeleton to protect themselves. Their reflective, plate-like skin makes Quarians less susceptible to long-term, low-level radiation exposure, but they do not possess any sort of natural armor. A Quarian's thick skin does not stop projectiles and directed energy bolts. Although life on Palaven is carbon-based and oxygen-breathing, it is built on dextroamino acids. This places the Quarians in a distinct minority on the galactic stage. The Quarians are the only other known sapient dextroprotein race. The food of humans, Asari, or Solarians, who evolved in levoamino acid-based biospheres, will at best pass through Quarian systems without providing any nutrition. At worst, it will trigger an allergic reaction that can be fatal if not immediately treated. Ooh. Very interesting. Quarians, law and defense. Although the Conclave establishes civil law much as any planet-based democracy, enforcement and trials are more unique. After the flight from the Geth, there were few constables to police the millions of civilians aboard the fleet, so the Navy parceled out Marine squads to maintain order and enforce the law. Today, Quarian Marines have evolved training and tactics akin to civilian police, but remain adept at combat in the confined spaces of a starship and fully under the command of the military. Once taken into custody, the accused is brought before the ship's captain for judgment. While the ship's council may make recommendations, tradition holds that the captain has absolute authority in matters of discipline. Most lenient, assigning additional or more odious maintenance tasks aboard the ship. Persistent Give me a minute. Recidivists, there we go, recidivists are accidentally left on the next habitable world. This practice of abandoning criminals on other people's planets is a point of friction between the Quarians and the systems they pass through. Captains rarely have another choice. With space and resources at a premium, supporting a non-productive prison population is not an option. In the early years, many Quarian freighters were armed and used as irregular privateers. Civilian ships still show a strong preference for armament. I am so sorry! I'm clearly dehydrated. Let me have a sip. Okay, there we go. In the early years, many Quarian freighters were armed and used as irregular privateers. Civilian ships still show a strong preference for armament, making them unpopular targets for pirates. Though they have rebuilt their military, they are still mere hundreds of warships to protect tens of thousands of ships. The Quarian Navy follows strict routines of patrol and takes no chances. If the intent of an approaching ship can't be ascertained, they shoot to kill. And Quarians, the Migrant Fleet. The Migrant Fleet is the largest concentration of starfaring vessels in the galaxy, sprawling across millions of kilometers. It can take days for the entire fleet to pass through a mass relay. When the Quarians fled their homeworld, the fleet was a motley aggregation of freighters, shuttles, industrial vessels, and the odd warship. After 3 centuries, all have been modified to support larger crews as comfortably as possible. As the Quarians achieved stability, they began weeding out the ships least suitable for long-term habitation, selling them and pooling the money to buy larger and more space-worthy hulls. This process is ongoing, as vessels wear out and break down. While some ships enjoy dedicated cabins with full privacy and sanitary facilities, many more are former freighters, whose cargo bays and containers are pressurized and divided into family spaces, using simple metal cubicle bulkheads. The Quarians enliven these austere spaces with colourful quilts and tapestries, which also help muffle sound. The day-to-day operations of the fleet, traffic control, station keeping, supply distribution, and so on, are under military jurisdiction. Though ship captains have the authority to deviate from their assigned patrols and may leave the fleet at any time, they are assumed to do so at their own risk. As the Migrant Fleet moves around the galaxy, many ships split off to pursue individual goals, returning days or years later. Very interesting. Okie doke, I'm gonna bring this episode to a close right here. In the next one, we go speak with Kaiden and Liara. There we go. I forgot her name for a minute then. I was thinking Ashley. I'm like, no, that's Ashley over there behind that pillar. Oh well, yes, in the next episode, we go speak with Kaiden and Liara. But until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. I've been Kallista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.